Everybody knows that blondes do it better. Hi, I'm a Renaissance woman, and today I'm going to teach you how to dye your hair.
My gray hair makes me feel so old. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wash that gray right out of my hair. I'm gonna wash that gray right out of my hair.
We've all heard the phrase, never judge a book by its cover. Well, medieval and early modern medical practitioners would disagree. Medical theory in this long age centered around the four humours. Having the correct balance of these humours made you a healthy person, which was reflected correspondingly in your inner character and outward appearance. If you're pretty, you must be healthy. If you're ugly, go see a doctor. In her book, Hair and Illustrated History, Susan Vincent argues that anthropologically speaking, hair is some of the basic stuff with which we do being human. Hair is a way in which we express ourselves and our beauty. It's something that throughout history, people have spent a lot of time and money caring, colouring, and maintaining. Let's just remember the scandal in 2016 when it was revealed that French President Francois Hollande was found to spend 10,000 euros on this cut. Pop culture and the media have long created links between hair colour and moral character. This was especially highlighted in literature in the 19th century. According to a 1570 edition of the Shepherd's Calendar, now keep in mind that I've done a questionable job translating this myself from Old English or whatever. If you have black hair, you're a fairly pretty and just person. If you have red hair, you're angry, stupid, and a liar. If you're a blonde man, you are full of laughter and merriment, yet also lecherous and deceitful. While developments of genetic theories in the 19th century have made great work to separate our ideas of genetic makeup and moral character, cultural ideas around appearance still have great power. With the Shepherd's Calendar's description of blondes, we can so easily compare it to a blonde bimbo, himbo, or a femme fatale archetype of the modern day. Beautiful, yet dangerous, or just stupid. So with hair colour having such a variety of associations and meanings, how did we dye it back in the day? According to Victoria Scherer's Encyclopedia of Hair, A Cultural History, hair dyeing in the ancient world was a practice for both men and women. In the Middle Ages, it became specifically for women. I want to note, however, that if we look at things like 19th century advertising, we can see that hair colour is still certainly a valid concern for men. Beauty standards change over time, and in different parts of the world. In fact, during the reign of Elizabeth I, red hair dyes were popularised, often using saffron and sulphur powder. These forms of hair dyeing were often rather dangerous. Prior to the 20th century, dyes would often include dangerous ingredients such as nitric and sulfuric acid, which could have fatal consequences. In 1907, though, French chemist Eugène Schuller used phenylenediamine to create the world's first synthetic hair dye, which he named L'Oreal, founding his business 2 years later that would become named L'Oreal. These synthetic hair dyes seem to be, for the most part, a lot safer than earlier methods. Though originally the idea of chemical hair dye was met with trepidation by customers, in the first half of the 20th century, it was considered a vain practice for women. In the 1920s, though, beauty companies, including L'Oreal, began marketing campaigns that would play on women's anxieties around aging. This isn't necessarily something entirely new. Advertisements as far back as the 17th century seem to play on the great villain of grey hair. Yet with the introduction of modern media and advertising, there has been an explosion of hair colouring. In the 1950s, an estimated 4 to 7% of American women dyed their hair. By 2015, that number was 70%. Interestingly, in Claire Robinson's essay, Grey is a Feminist Issue, she notes 2015 as the year grey hair went mainstream. The silver look became cool. She also notes the trend of granny chic in the noughties, which has so come back with trends like the coastal grandmother and eclectic grandfather on the internet at the moment. I find it funny that in a year where 70% of Americans were dyeing their hair, grey hair became a cool look, and certainly says something about the beauty industry. In a culture where we tend to hold quite limited valued roles for older women, grey hair has long been demonized, and media at the height of this grey hair trend called it attention seeking. I find it interesting because, if everyone else is dyeing their hair away from grey and you do the opposite, I guess that can kind of be attention seeking. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's crazy that we have such a culturally ingrained idea about how our hair should be coloured that if you colour your hair in a way that most people will naturally have it at some point in their lives, that could be considered attention seeking. Seems crazy. Anyway, if we turn the clock back, I want to take you on a trip to Renaissance Venice. You've got kind of mousy brown hair, but the cute boy you like only really goes for Helen of Troy types, with golden hair and white skin. So what's a girl to do? Well, in Janet Stevens' work, Becoming Blonde in Renaissance Italy, she looks at beauty standards of the time and actually tests out methods of hair lightening. She notes that this beauty standard of golden hair and white skin was accepted, even promoted by the church, the state, and the medical community. All I'm saying is that if you put that much sociological pressure on a girl, forgive me for being vain. Artists would depict these traits on religious figures, and I've already talked about the theory of the four humours. By the end of the 13th century, more cosmetic recipes were appearing in physicians' and surgeons' manuals, given the links attributed between outward appearance and inner health. Writers of the time also noted just how much a doctor can make from cosmetic preparation. Some important texts we have are a treatise on cosmetics found in the Walters Art Museum from 1500, and the Experimenti, a manuscript compiled by an Italian noblewoman named Caterina Sforza. In the Experimenti, there were 2 recipes for blonding. Yet a lot of the writing in this manuscript was written in a code so that only the author could decipher the recipes. Chapter 2 of the Walters Treatise contains information about hair lightening. Interestingly, the recipe in the Walters Treatise stressed the importance of sun exposure, yet in the earlier recipes found in the Experimenti, this isn't mentioned. The author argues that this suggests an association between sun and hair lightening was relatively recent to the Renaissance, but I don't know if I'm missing something, but surely humans who've had hair for a long time and lived in quite sunny places would notice that the sun lightens their hair. Anyway, the author tries recipe A and recipe B, which I will show here. She finds B to be more effective. They lighten tonally, which is important. We must also understand that Venetian women would lighten their hair during the spring and the summer with these recipes in order to achieve this blonde look. Come winter, they can't really lighten anymore, so by the time it's the end of winter, your roots are certainly showing. Given the ingredients listed, these are expensive and time-consuming practices, not for everyone to use, especially given that while sun bleaching your hair, you must keep your skin pale. Anyway, I made this video because I used to be really blonde when I was younger, and I cut my hair, so it's really dark at the moment. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to dye my hair like a Renaissance woman? Because I'm I am too scared to put all these modern chemicals in my hair. So let's dye it like I'm in the Renaissance. After researching, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be booking highlights from my hairdresser. Anyway, thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more fashion history content.